What's happening, GoCo? It's Scott here. Just CB and I this week, and we're chatting about games that released during new console seasons and just how important it is to have quality titles. In news, we talk about a new teaser for a 007 game, a record-breaking video game sale, and reports of Series X issues. New games discussed include Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and Bright Memory. May the week bless you with quality Black Friday deals. This is The Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 322 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, November 23rd. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me is my good friend, Chris Behrensmeyer. What's up, man?
Not much. How's it going?
It's going all right. It is just you and I for this episode. I don't know if we've ever done this before. Have you ever had an episode just the two of us?
I don't think so, man.
I've done plenty with just Zach and I, and they were glorious. So I don't want to, give you too much pressure, but you got a lot to live up to.
Oh yeah, you just make it all about you and everybody else. just forget me, man.
Unfortunately, Zach is not able to be joining us tonight, but he will be back next week. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But you're stuck with just CB and I. But we got lots to talk about. And before we get to the news, got to give a special shout out to Timothy Miller, who won our monthly game giveaway drawing. He won a copy of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity on Nintendo Switch. I got notification on Saturday that it was delivered. He posted his bite picture on Facebook. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, we like to take pictures of us holding our new games in our mouths and post them on social media because we're weird. Also, got to give a shout out to one of our one of our Discord listeners. He goes by the name of Caramel Bear. I'm not going to spell it out, but he uses 3s instead of E's a lot. He did a really nice thing for one of my former students this week. Aiden used to be in my class about 2 or 3 years ago, and he's a big PC gamer. And he was posting in our Discord about how he was in need of a gaming mouse. So Caramel Bear actually reached out to me privately and said he wanted to buy Aiden a gaming mouse and asked if he could purchase it and have me pick it up for him at Best Buy and get it to him, which I did. And there's a really great picture of Aiden with this mouse, with this shocked, surprised, super excited look on his face, and totally made his day. So I don't know. I thought that was a really cool story. And thank you very much to Caramel Bear for doing that. It was very, very generous, and you made a kid's day. So awesome. Also, CB, have you played Among Us? I don't remember.
I've dabbled very small.
All right. So this week, I do this thing in my class called Fun Friday with my students, where it's a last hour of the day on Friday, where we just have a free-for-all, and for all the kids that are caught up on their work, we do some kind of fun activity. And this week, I decided that we would all play Among Us. So those kids that could prove that they had their work turned in and everything, I split them up into groups. We had Google Meet sessions, and I had them into groups, and I played Among Us with my students. I was on my phone, and dude, that was so much fun. And here's the funny thing. I know everybody out there is going, you're playing video games with your kids. That game actually teaches some executive functioning skills, if you think about it. They have to communicate with one another. You have to know the map. You have spatial awareness. There's a lot of things. That's a good learning tool. And I know sound like I'm making an excuse, but I'm going to use that in the future. It was a ton of fun. And we need to play more Among Us because that game gets better and better the more I play it. It's really, really good. The line of the night, though, CB will appreciate this, is, or of the afternoon, like I'm playing it at night. We were playing, and you know how everybody uses the word sus? Like it's like, it's like a new word, even though it's just short for suspect. And the kids are saying, I don't know, I think Mr. Clark's pretty sus. And I said, wait, why am I sus? And the kid goes, well, because you're Mr. Clark. It was just a really funny line. And I won. I was the imposter twice, and I won both times as the imposter. It was great. And the cool thing about playing that with kids, if you're on a Google Meets call and you're on video, is watching their reactions when you kill them. Because they're so surprised and shocked that and of course, if I am the imposter, or if I'm not the imposter, I'm the immediate target. Their number one goal is to be the one that kills Mr. Clark. So when one of my students, his name is Pat, killed me, he was practically giddy with excitement that he got to be the one to kill Mr. Clark first. It was fun. Anyway, stay tuned for more. I assume that's going to be awesome. Also, it is Thanksgiving week, so stay tuned. We're going to stay tuned to our deals thread on Facebook, where we post all kinds of video game deals. Lots of Black Friday deals happening. I picked up a new gaming headset today for $30 at Best Buy. Haven't picked it up yet. I just ordered it. I'll be picking it up tomorrow. But it's compatible for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. It's corded, but it's $30, and I can play Tetris Effect the way God intended. So I'm excited. Anyway, CB, what do you say we jump into some news?
Yeah, sounds good, man.
All right, some new trailers came out this week. First off, we got a tease for a game called, it's tentatively called Project 007 from IO Interactive. Yes, a James Bond video game from the developers of the Hitman games. Also, a trailer for Right, the Eye of Atlantis. This is the first game from developer Orichalcum Pictures. It's a VR game, very Myst-inspired. And then we got a tease for Red Dead Redemption, The Outlaws Collection, which leaked on Amazon. Presumably, it will include both Red Dead games and has a price tag of $70. Much to CB's delight, Star Wars Squadrons is adding the B-Wing. Also, we've had multiple reports of Xbox Series X units randomly shutting off. And lastly, a sealed copy of Super Mario Bros. 3 just sold for $156,000 via auction. CB, I know there's a lot of stories in there you want to talk about, but where do you want to start?
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, let's get the Star Wars stuff out of the way.
Okay. The game that we haven't gone back to yet.
Well, I've dabbled a little still. Man, thank God, like EA is listening to fans.
Especially when this was a budget game that they're probably not making a ton of money on, right?
Yeah. I mean, from day one, when I found out that there was no B-Wing in this, I've been clamoring for why. I mean, it's an iconic ship. And now they're like, oh, okay, we've listened. We're going to do that and add the TIE Defender. It just makes me very happy that even that they've kind of gone back on their word, saying that they weren't really going to support this game. Like, it's out there in the wild. Congrats, here it is. Go play. But now that they are starting to do some updates and some more content for it, it really makes me hopeful that down the road that it could be continued. Like, there could be more content coming.
There could be maybe a trench run. I'd love to see a trench run with that engine. Just any of from the original trilogy. I would just love to see. Very excited. I haven't done any of the capital ship stuff, but apparently they're giving you new ways to attack those, which I know you said was a lot harder than it sounds.
It is. It really was pretty hard, even on easy. I got a group together. I know Nate was in that group as well as Jacob Gunderson, and we got our clocks cleaned.
Oh yeah. Were you playing? Did you play against AI?
Yeah, we were playing against AI
on easy.
On easy, and it was just like, no, we're just gonna trounce you.
Oh wow! Did you ever get past it?
I actually wound up finally beating one. But that night, I know we lost like 3 or 4 times.
Oh wow! I need to get back into the game, if nothing else, to play the campaign, because I've been begging for it forever, and I finally got it, and I've just been sitting on it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Project 007. I feel like we haven't had a Bond game in a while, but the fact that we're getting it from IO Interactive just seems like an absolute match made in heaven. What a great developer to make a Bond game. And I mean, I know that we all kind of hang our hat on GoldenEye, which to me is still my favorite Bond game of all time. Agent Under Fire was pretty good, but GoldenEye is just like the gold standard, even though it looks terrible by now. But for me, GoldenEye was the first video game based on a movie where it felt like you were playing through the movie. And I know it doesn't look like it nowadays. It looks pretty terrible. But the scenes, the dialogue, the faces were exactly like the movie. And I feel like every time we get a movie-based game now, it's always like a rehash or an offshoot or I don't know. And I know this one's going to be, I assume this is going to be an original story. You'd have to assume, right?
I really hope it is. Well, I mean, we've had a couple of those. Bloodstone was another one.
Yeah, I remember that was 2 generations ago, wasn't it? Or was that 360?
That was 360. So I mean, that was 2 generations ago.
Yeah. There was a remake of GoldenEye where they put Daniel Craig's face.
It was not good though.
It really wasn't. It was kind of fun seeing those levels over again and better graphics, but it just didn't flow the same for some reason.
No, it really didn't.
So here's the question though: are we going to get Daniel Craig, Or are we going to get Idris Elba? Or are we going to get like just a brand new original face?
I kind of hope they go with just a brand new original face, because I would like to see. I mean, if it's going to be a brand new property, please don't change it up some. Give me the Bond that's described in the books.
I haven't read the book, so I have no idea what that means.
So I mean, just a very salty kind of character. Just
not suave.
Well, I mean, he is suave, but definitely seasoned.
Oh, okay. I think it might be kind of fun to do like a retrospective where you kind of go through the different movie iterations. Like we get a Timothy Dalton and we get a Sean Connery and we get there's got to be a Sean Connery homage at some point. There has to.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay without a Timothy Dalton though.
Well, I mean, but you got to have them all is my point if you're going to go through and do it.
Oh God, who was there was the one that wasn't Timothy Dalton. It did George Lazenby.
Right. I have a confession to make, CB. I've never seen a Bond movie pre Pierce Brosnan.
I should punch you.
Yeah. I've never seen a Sean Connery one. I've never seen a Timothy Dalton one. I've never seen.
We're not friends anymore. We are mortal enemies now.
Well, here's the thing. Every Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, I have had a tradition for the past few years with a couple friends that come over and we do a movie marathon every year. But with COVID and one of them getting a boyfriend and one of them having a baby, it's just not happening this year. So I'm of the mind that the tradition is pretty much dead. But I could keep living it on myself, and maybe I'll just do a Bond marathon.
It's going to take you more than a day.
Well, I know there's like 30 of them. That's not going to. There's over 20 at least.
I think there's like 26.
But I think they're all on Hulu, so I could just pop on Hulu and just watch Bond movies all day.
They're all on the Vudu account.
Are they? Oh, okay. All right, I can watch them on Vudu then. But see, it's easier on the other one because it's they're in order. I don't know the order. I guess I could look up the order. Our producer is telling us there are 24 Bond movies. The 25th one is coming up.
Is that including the Woody Allen?
Woody Allen was Bond?
He was like the cousin of Bond. It was the original Casino Royale.
Oh, okay. By the way, I recently rewatched Casino Royale. I like that movie.
It is a great. Daniel Craig is a great iteration.
Yeah, I do like it. Anyway, I'm excited about whatever is going to come out of this Project 007. Yeah, that's pretty cool. CB, I know you want to talk about Mario Brothers.
All right, let's get this out of the way because I've actually had people asking about this. I was actually tagged in this multiple times from multiple different people.
Wait, you don't have 156,000 just laying around?
No, I don't. and to be perfectly honest, I would not spend that on this cart.
Well, it's not just a cart; it's the box sealed original.
Yeah, I know. It's the left variant version. The left row variant version of Super Mario Brothers 3, and it was graded a 9.2 out of 10 by WADA. So
you're gonna have to explain what that means because people that aren't collectors. I know what you're talking about because you explained it to me when we were at the store the other day.
Yeah. So the original Super Mario Brothers 3, when it originally came out, there was a variant cover. So the brothers on the label was shifted to the left side. And during the first print run, they moved it to the right side in later print runs. So this original version, somebody found a sealed copy that was in amazing shape and sent it to a company called WADA. WADA is one of the two grading companies that most people consider for grading. I hate grading. Let's get that out in the open right now. I hate it because...
Why? You've been telling me to get my stuff graded for a while.
If you want to, I will never get anything of mine graded, and if somebody gives me a graded game, I will open it.
Oh my God.
We've had this discussion. I love video games. Video games were meant to be opened and meant to be played. That being said, this thing sold for $156,000 because, as far as I know, it's the only one of the only ones in this condition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen that one. There's the original Super Mario Brothers red sticker version that some guy wants like $1 million for.
Well, that was a Pawn Stars thing where he was just trying to.
No, that guy actually listed it on eBay for $1 million.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, so there's that, and then like on top of that, so that is now the official record breaking for a single video game sale.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there was a copy of Pokemon Red that sold in its original box, and that was graded a 9.8 out of 10, which to me is even more impressive because I see more Nintendo box, like original NES boxes, than I see Game Boy boxes.
Oh, okay.
One of my friends, David Page, like he is more obsessed with collecting Game Boy boxes right now because they are harder to find. And this thing sold for $84,000.
But it's not Mario 3. That's why the price tag went up.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still mind-blowing that in today's market with COVID, without people having jobs, that this kind of money is being tossed around for games.
Well, you got to remember that amount of money is not as much money as it is for you and me as it is for a lot of people out there. But I get your point. First world problems, right?
I will openly say, like, if somebody came to me with a graded copy of that, I'd be like, I'll give you like $200. I mean, that would be the absolute most I would pay for something like that.
Whew. Man, I don't know what you're a bigger collector than I am, but I would say it's worth a little more than $200.
But here's the problem with graded games. Graded games are an inflated market, and they're basically what I'm willing to pay for one would be completely different than what you're willing to pay for one.
Yeah, but what matters is what someone is willing to pay for it.
That is true, which is why eBay is the devil.
Well, this wasn't eBay, though. This is like a different auction house, wasn't it?
I believe so. This was actually a private auction, which I'm amazed that those are even happening right now.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you another name of an auction place besides eBay. I literally cannot tell you the name of one off my head.
There actually used to be one specifically for games called Game Gavel.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one either.
It lasted for a while. I mean, I bought a few things off of it, but it got well overshadowed by eBay.
There was a site I used to use. I cannot remember the name of it, but it was something about game traders or something or game exchange or game swap or something like that, where you basically, it was a trust thing where you would basically meet up with somebody and I want this game and you want this game. Let's trade. You mail them to each other. You both confirm that the trade happened, and then you get, positive marks or whatever. But it was all like on the honor system. And I did that for a while where I would like swap out my new games and try to get, or I get like, you could turn it in and get some kind of credit. It wasn't money credit. It was like a made up currency for the site, like coins or something. And then you would cash those coins to get a trade from somebody else. If anybody remembers the name of that site, I imagine it doesn't exist anymore, but it was a really clever idea that kind of took out the bidding part of it. You just like found somebody that was selling it for this coin amount and this made up currency, and it was just a really cool system. I thought it was neat. It probably couldn't work today. I feel like that's probably why it's not around. If it is around, I'd be really curious to know. But I want to talk about the Xbox Series X just for a second. Not a ton to hear, but apparently there are reports of the system just randomly shutting off. It happens about 5 to 10 seconds in the middle of loading a game. Attempts at reinstalling software and hard reboots aren't solving it. And the biggest offenders for this are Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Call of Duty Cold War, or Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which I know you have been playing. Have you had any random shutoffs?
I've played like over 90 hours in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I've probably got close to 5 to 10 in Cold War, and I have yet to have a problem.
Okay. I haven't had any issues either, but I haven't put nearly as many hours in as you. But I know people in our community. Aaron Peterson said he had it happen 3 times the other night. I know some people are saying it matters how you are positioning the unit. I know you've got yours standing up straight, correct?
Yes.
And I've got mine laying down, but I've got mine laying down so that there's a big space in between the vent and the other side of the shelf. So I don't know if that's the correct way to do it, but I don't have room to stand it up. So it's just not going to happen. But it smells hot. Is that what you said?
It really does.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on. That's the news for the week. I want to remind everybody that we are an independently funded podcast, and if you'd like to help support the show and help us give back to the community, we have a Patreon set up, and we've got different levels to match your budget, and each one offers different rewards. The $3 tier offers one extra bonus episode each month, and the $5 tier offers 2 bonus episodes each month, and then there's even greater tiers above and beyond that. Discounts to our store, which, by the way, we haven't talked about our store in a while. We still are selling video game themed masks, for protection. Tons of them are available. Be sure to check out the site, thegamingoutster.com/the-go-shop. But CB, as far as Patreon goes, what are some episodes that everybody can look forward to?
Oh, well, we still have our Star Wars spoiler cast of Squadrons, as well as Dante's Inferno. I know we also just recently recorded a small episode on a board game called Nemesis.
Oh, you did record that one?
Yes, we did. It was
right.
fun. So we did that. We still have our Break the Seal episode on Final Fantasy VI coming up.
We are recording that tomorrow.
Oh, well, yeah. And I know Spencer and I have been talking about our next Going, Gone episode, which is our drunken video game trivia podcast.
Also, I know I've never been a big proponent of Spoilercast, but from hearing you talk about the finale of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which we won't spoil here, it sounds like that one may be worth talking about.
It needs it.
Yeah, so
because
that maybe
there's a lot to unpackage in that ending.
See, the problem is I'm not going to finish that game in time to talk about it in December. So maybe we'll get some people from the community. I know that Spencer is plugging away, Mo is plugging away. I think Matt is as well, and they're playing remotely too. They're playing with the xCloud, Project xCloud.
Yeah,
I know Mo is having better luck with it than Matt is, but good things over there. So anyway, if you'd like to hear those episodes as well as everything in our back catalog, please consider heading over to patreon.com/thegocast and sign up for a monthly membership and get some extra benefits, including extra episodes, and we really would appreciate the support. Let's go ahead and move on now to the games we've actually been playing. All right, first up, we've got games coming out. Football Manager 2021. I believe that is football as in soccer. Football. Hits the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One and PC on November 24th. Star Renegades on PS4, which we recently talked about because Kevin reviewed that game for us. Hit Xbox last week. It's now on PS4 on the 25th. Vigor finally comes to PS4 on the 25th. And then lastly, CB's Game of the Year, Made of Scare, hits the Nintendo Switch on November 26th.
You shut your mouth.
Any of these games stand out to you, CB?
I really want to start dabbling in Star Renegades.
I kind of do, but the time commitment scares me. I'm still sitting on so many games that I haven't even touched. This will definitely be a catch-up week for me. I want to play more Valhalla. I really want to get through Black Ops. So This is a non-week for me, but what are you going to do? Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about, speaking of Call of Duty, and CB, you've played way more. I've only played the opening mission, so my biggest thing that I noticed in your reaction to Black Ops is you posted a picture on Facebook just saying how gorgeous this game is. I wasn't super impressed with the opening thing that I saw. Just that opening mission on the rooftops and all that. Does it get better than that?
I don't know what you're looking at, man, because honestly, you and I had the discussion recently that you weren't overly happy with the graphics of Valhalla either.
Maybe I have my TV settings wrong.
I think your TV settings are off.
Okay, why don't you come over tomorrow and take a look and see?
I unfortunately can't.
Oh, well, yeah, you're not in Rockford right now.
Yes, I'm not recording from my home.
Yes.
But I actually, like I said, I put 90 hours into Valhalla, and the more I played that, I started staring more at the faces after you said that, and I completely disagree with that.
All right. Something wrong with my screen.
Could be. Or you just have your settings too low.
Maybe.
But Black Ops, man, this game looks gorgeous.
All right.
I'm utterly blown away by how good it looks. I know one of the community members was like, "Oh, well, what does the ray tracing look like?" And I was still confused by like what ray tracing actually is.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go and like watch some videos on this. And it's a lot of the light reflections, or you see reflections in things and people moving. It's really impressive in this game even. Granted, it is not PC level quality because again, there are people that spend ridiculous amounts on their PCs.
Mm-hmm.
But for what the Series X and the PS5 are packing in them, I am still in awe at how good these games look and respond and play.
I will say it felt very Call of Duty. It felt solid. The shooting feels good.
Yes, it really does.
Although I had a random glitch in the opening level.
Opening
level I played. I died. You know how the opening level you open the trunk and you pick your weapon, and yes. I picked. I don't know the names of the weapons like you do. I had the one with the scope on it. That's the one.
AK-74U.
That sounds right. I remember AK because I thought, it sounds like an AK. Oh nope, the numbers are backwards. So I picked that up and I went through and I died. And when I respawned, it respawned me way further back, and then it gave me a different weapon than the one that I picked out. So I had to go through the rest of it with a weapon that I did not like very much. I had a red dot scope instead. And I don't know. I just never experienced that in the game, but it was not a good first impression for me.
Yeah, I definitely did not have that happen to me. I made it through that one. I got to see Ronald Reagan.
How does that work? Because it stood out to me in the trailer, in the television trailer.
He looks a little bloated. I will say that.
Yeah.
The face seems a little off. But when you're reconstructing someone who's not with us anymore,
right?
I can understand some limitations and challenges to that, because they probably had somebody else there and mocapped that person speaking and then just wrapped the face.
How does the voice sound? Does it sound like him?
Kind of. It's a little off,
right? But
it's still a good representation. The story is becoming pretty interesting. I will say that. Right. It really feels like the Brad Pitt Robert Redford movie Spy Game.
Oh, okay.
Like it.
Well,
that
one guy kind of looks like Robert Redford a little bit, so that helps.
Yes, he really does. But it has that feel to it, but just with a lot more intensity. This is also the first time I've played a Call of Duty game where they have areas that really try to focus on stealth.
Huh. Yeah, it's usually just run and gun with these types of games.
Yeah, I mean, there's like different arcing pathways.
Really?
There's like a challenge where this one guy, you can either save him or kill him. And this happens almost during every level. It's like, oh, did you make it all the way to this objective stealth? Or did you just plow through and shoot everybody?
So does that play into the story? Is it like affect the story, I guess is what I should say?
Yes, it does. I was kind of surprised because there's a character that you can either shoot or save. And this character can betray you and give you up later on.
Oh, because like, again, only opening mission, but you have an option with this guy that you're chasing after, this, I assume terrorist or bad guy in general. And you can either throw him off of the building, or you can beat him up, or you can just take him into custody. Does that kind of stuff play into the story? Because otherwise, I just wonder what's the point.
I haven't come back to that character yet, because I know the one that you're talking about, so I don't know that. But the other thing that I'm finding interesting is the dialogue chains, because I I don't remember another Call of Duty game where you had dialogue chains that could have different outcomes.
Yeah, but it does the thing that I know bugs Zach too, and it bugs me in this one in a game that is so heavily voice acted. Like you make that decision and your character doesn't actually physically say it.
Yes, I will agree with that.
That bothers me.
Did you use your actual name?
No, can you?
So that there's the dossier that you fill out.
Uh-huh.
You can put your actual name, and it, like every title screen, like when it starts redacting things, it actually like shows my full name.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
So I'm like, oh, my actual name is in a Call of Duty game.
I always thought that was a cool thing they did in the Black Ops games anyway. Like, it's just been like a standard in that where they black out everything except for certain words, and that was just always a nice touch.
Yes. But I'm really enjoying this. The gunplay is very tight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't remember the last time I've had this much fun with a shooter.
Nice. Does it have an aha moment like the last Call of Duty did with the night vision? Because that moment was surreal to me the first time I played that.
There is kind of a couple cool things because you get to use a lot of spy gadgets in this.
Uh-huh.
There's a cigarette pack that has a cigarette that extends out in one of the cutscenes that is an audio recorder, but it records like people across the room.
Yeah, because that happened in the 80s.
But I mean, there's a lot of cool little spy tech that this game does. It feels more like an early James Bond movie.
Oh,
than it does a Call of Duty game,
like a military shooter.
Yes, because it does have all those like cool little spy gadgets that you can play around with.
Speaking of it being in the 80s, do you really get that 80s feel throughout it, or is it just like in that opening cutscene, you know, where you're in an 80s bar and the 80s music is playing?
There is quite a level coming up where you go to a Russian base that has one of the most amazing 80s moments in video games.
Don't tell me what it is, because I still plan on playing it, but that sounds cool.
Yeah, that level, by the way, it's not as ridiculous as No Russian, but it is ridiculously fun.
Okay. I don't know what that means. That sounds like you have a twisted sense of enjoyment.
No. I'm saying it's not as ridiculous as like, it wasn't that like, holy crap, this is happening, like No Russian.
Uh-huh.
But it's still really like, whoa, what is going on moment.
All right. I got to play this more. It sucks because I know I could knock out Call of Duty in like a couple days because those are usually like 12 hours or whatever. But I also want to play Valhalla, but Valhalla I'm going to be playing for the next century.
Yes.
I don't know. But are you enjoying it? You're going to recommend it?
I'm enjoying it enough that for me this is going to warrant a second playthrough.
Oh wow.
Because
when's the last time you said that about a Call of Duty game?
When was the last time I said that about any game?
That's true. Last Call of Duty game was pretty good though.
But again, because it has the different arc paths, there are differences in the story.
Oh, I see.
So I'm curious to see how that plays out because it's something new for Call of Duty.
And you did bring your Xbox with you down to your hotel room, yes?
Yes, it's sitting like 3 feet away and waiting for us to get done so I can play some Call of Duty.
All right, well, we can move on then if you really need to get going.
So, you've also been playing something new, which I've dabbled ever so slightly in.
So you played half the game?
Less than that.
You didn't make it very far. Yes, I got a chance to check out Bright Memory. This is an impressive game in its look, and this is a tough game to review because it looks incredible. But I always feel like whenever I say it looks incredible, I have to follow it with for a game made by one guy. And I know that's like, it just makes me sound like such a jerk for saying that. but the models of not necessarily the character models, but like the weapons and the environments and the design of the enemies and stuff looks incredible. The problem I have with it is I just did not find this game, and I'm sorry, I did not find it very fun to play. This is a first-person shooter where and also I can't tell you what the story is. Did you feel like jumping into the little bit that you played that you were supposed to know something going in? I feel like I missed a whole first part of a story or something.
Yeah, this feels like it was a segment cut out of the middle of a movie.
Uh-huh.
And you don't know what happened before or after.
Yeah, and if I'm completely ignorant as to what it is that I am missing, I apologize to the developer. I don't mean to sound like I'm knocking a game. I just was completely lost. I'm a female antagonist. I believe her name is Shelia. Instead of, I keep wanting to say it looked like Sheila, but it was the two letters were transposed, so it was like Shelia. And you're after something, and there's these bad guys that you're chasing, and at one point they're chasing you, and you wind up going through a portal and entering different dimensions where you fight all types of creatures, from sword and shield wielding monsters to giant some kind of creatures to like a giant devil looking creature. And you get all these powers which are skill tree based, although they're not really a skill tree, it's just skills. You've got like 4 skills on each page, and you acquire it with experience points, and then that's it. So one like increases the experience that you get. One increases how fast you run. One increases you have like a melee attack in addition to shooter, so you can actually juggle enemies in the air. My problem with the gameplay is that I felt like all I was doing was firing bullets into these sponges and just running around in circles, strafing and dodging attacks when they attack, and just rinse and repeat. Same thing for bosses, same thing for individual enemies. And the bosses aren't terribly difficult until they just keep throwing ads at you, and these ads just take so much damage. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, I'm fighting a boss, and I finish it, and the credits roll. And I looked at the game clock, no exaggeration, 43 minutes it took me to beat this game. Which tells me that I'm not playing a full game. I feel like I'm getting a small chapter of it because I can't seem to find out what's going on, because there's something online called Bright Memory Infinite, which makes me think there's either more coming or there's a whole other story or another game that exists, and I don't understand. I need to get more information, but
to me this game felt like a tech demo.
I could see that. I mean, it was the length of a tech demo. And I don't mean to sound like the length of a game is a big selling point, but yeah, and the bummer is that I feel like I'm talking so negatively about this game. It really looks impressive, and it works. The controls work great. This is something that if I were the one guy that made this game, I would be super proud of myself. I just don't know why this was a close to launch title for the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
It just sticks out like a sore thumb for some reason. And I love the theme in terms of gunplay, like futuristic gunplay versus sword and shield wielding characters. That's a cool idea. I really liked it. I just don't know what's missing, and the game is sort of designed to be done in speed runs. Like there's an achievement to beat it 3 consecutive times or something. Which I just don't feel like doing. I know it's only like an hour, and I just don't. I didn't really enjoy it too much.
I mean, from the small amount that I played of it, there's when you first go back through the portal, there's the one like arena.
Yeah,
I got into that, and I just got so annoyed because I agree with you that the guys that you fight in there are just insane bullet sponges.
Mm-hmm.
I got so annoyed. I started using the sword and just kiting them around and just whomping on them.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
And I got to this point where I'm just like, if this is going to be what it's like, I'm not having that much fun. And then you text me like, hey, I beat it. And you told me the time, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to touch this, because I immediately had flashbacks of Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero.
I don't know. People talked highly of that game, though.
I liked what I played of Phantom Pain, but Ground Zero, when I buy a brand new game for $40 and I beat it in under an hour,
yeah,
like I got so annoyed with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will agree with you. What this guy was able to pull off by himself is insanely impressive. That being said, it's way too short. The enemies take way too long to kill. But overall, it's very pretty to look at. The gunplay is fun. I agree with you. It feels like something is missing.
Well, plus you also just came off of Valhalla and Call of Duty. You know, games that have just an infinite amount of money dumped into them. And it's hard to judge a game like this after coming off of those games that it's just not a fair comparison. And I know we're not really comparing those games, but you just put 90 hours in one game and about 6 or 7 hours in the other. And, you know, I can understand. So anyway, that's all I want to say about it. I don't want to harp on the game too much. I feel disappointed because I was really looking forward to it when they first unveiled this game at that Xbox presser, that online presser. I was like, man, that looks like a really cool idea. And I just feel like I got the prologue of a game more than anything else.
Yeah.
I want to know more. I'm going to play Starship Troopers. Would you like to know more? Yes, I would. Please tell me more. And but also, on the same token, I also feel like I didn't miss something because I almost maxed out the skill tree. So I played the game. But doesn't it seem weird to have skill trees in a game that short?
Yes.
Like those are things like that you invest in over time, and I don't know.
But like you said, it was one of 4 options.
Well, no, there was 3 pages with 4 options on each. I stuck with the first page more so because I'm the guy that always pumps stuff into things that are going to give you more XP as I go, just because it makes mathematical sense to do so. And then I just stuck with that, and none of the powers interested me, which is a bummer in a game like this that kind of focuses on that. You have an EMP blast at the beginning, which is fun to play with, where she just shoots out energy from her hand, and all the enemies go flying up into the sky and move in slow motion. You get to kind of shoot them while they're in the air and try to keep this juggle motion going. There's an achievement for it. It's a cool concept, but it's also super difficult to try to do that when there's a boss that does not fly up into the screen and you're just throwing ads up in the air. And I don't know. I didn't find it super fun. And, apologies to the dev. I know you put your heart and soul in this thing, and it really does look incredible. I would be super proud if I made it. I feel like I'm missing something, and please give me more. I do want more. So that's Bright Memory. Again, I'm playing on the Xbox Series X. Do have another game I want to review for you guys. I sat down and talked to Sean Coates about a game he's playing for us called Liftoff Drone Racing. We'll play that for you right now. I'm here with Mr. Sean Coates, all the way from California. Sean, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, Scott. Always happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you, man. You've been reviewing a game for us called Liftoff Drone Racing. This one comes from the developer Luga Studios, and it was provided to us by Home Run PR, so shout out to those guys for hooking you up. So talk to me about Liftoff Drone Racing, because I know very little about real drone racing, but I've always been intrigued by it, and I'm kind of curious what you thought about how this game works. How does it work? Because to me, drone racing is video games, in a sense, right?
It's sort of, yeah, but I'm just like you. Before I saw that trailer you posted, I had no idea about drone racing either. I had no passive interest in it. But this game, first and foremost, is a simulator more than anything.
So it's not very arcadey. It's very much a sim.
No, unfortunately. And that was that's actually something I have to kind of say negatively about it. I was sort of, granted, it's my fault, but I thought it was going to be something like Wipeout, but with drones. But instead,
or Diddy Kong Racing.
Or Diddy Kong Racing with the airplanes, yeah. Unfortunately, it is not that. It's a full-on simulator.
Okay. So how does it control? I mean, you played it on which platform?
I played on PS4.
Okay, so is this, I mean, what's thrust, what's yaw, how are the controls working?
Well, there's different levels of control intricacies you can do. You can do full-on assist, which basically just limits everything to one stick. It's the most arcadey level you can do. But even then, I still found myself crashing into trees and such. But there's different ranges of control going all the way to what the game calls acro mode, which stands for acrobatic, which is basically full sim. Left stick controls your altitude up and down, and also pivoting left to right. And your right stick controls the pitch and the yaw. And, pitching it forward will make your drone fly forward, etc., and flying it back will make it fly back and whatnot. It's a lot harder than it sounds.
Okay. Well, does this feel like a good entry point for somebody that might be interested in real drone racing? Because, playing this game, you don't run the risk of damaging potentially hundreds of dollars of equipment in the process.
I agree with that, yes. Me personally, though, I couldn't get into it.
Okay. Is that a game issue, or is that that's a me lack of interest?
That's a me issue. I still can't quite fully control these drones, even on full assist. And I agree, and I admit that's totally on me. The game itself looks great. It sounds awesome. The soundtrack itself contains a lot of kind of ambient EDM dance music, and I kind of like that. In fact, I wish I could get the soundtrack. It's that good. I like it that much.
Very cool. So do you think that this would be a game that somebody that is an enthusiast that does this for real, are they going to want to play this game, or are they just would they be better off doing the real thing?
I think drone enthusiasts will get a kick out of this. It is that accurate in a simulator mode. It's made by Astragon, is published by Astragon Entertainment, who've done the Farming Simulator series.
Sure, okay.
And also the Liftoff series, sometime next year, is getting what they call Liftoff Drone Academy, which is actually going to be a training program for real-life drone pilots in terms of fire rescue, EMS, things of that sort.
Oh, wow, very cool.
Yeah, so these guys are very, very detailed in that front. And there's even a lot of the drone fans are asking the developers to have full-on transmitter support for their consoles. Basically, whatever controller they use for their real-life drones can be playable on a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One. That's what they're thinking about implementing.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, so you can get the best of both worlds. When you're not droning, you're droning on your TV. That sounds really cool.
And without the risk of damage and potentially hundreds or thousands of dollars.
Exactly. Well, again, the game is called Liftoff Drone Racing. So thank you so much, Sean, for reviewing that game. I know it wasn't your cup of tea, but it still sounds like a quality product.
It is, yes. Especially if you're a drone enthusiast, you'll definitely get a kick out of it.
Sounds good. Well, thanks so much for stopping by, Sean, and looking forward to chatting with you again in the future.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
CB, anything else you've been playing?
Yeah. I beat Valhalla.
Yes. Don't ruin the story, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how blown was your mind?
So story-wise, I would say this has got to be like a 9.5 out of 10.
Holy cow.
The game does something wonderful in the end that kind of ties many, many things together in a way that I did not see coming.
All right. So, do you get the sense that we're taking the Assassin's Creed universe in a new direction, kind of like they did with the Origins?
Yes. I feel that there's many things coming, and without a doubt, there's going to be more Assassin's Creeds now.
All right. I'm interested. But 90 hours, you beat the game in a week. In 90 hours, man.
I will say, not only did I get the ending, but there's also the secret ending. Because there's some things that you have to do to discover the what else is going on in the background.
Right.
Which is awesome. There's a really amazing cameo in this game, which I'm not spoiling. Zach and I both know what it is.
Well, because Zach reads spoilers like crazy.
Yes, he does. But even he was just, the moment I told him that I finished the game, he's like, "So, do you understand what I'm talking about?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about." And we kind of riffed on it for a few minutes.
Interesting. So how do you feel? I know you played it in such a compacted amount of time, but was it laborious? Did you feel engaged that entire 90 hours, or were you doing a lot of side stuff?
I was actually fairly engaged because each one of the little areas, I almost want to look up because I feel like there's an order you're supposed to play them in.
Okay.
Because one of the areas takes place at Halloween.
Halloween?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's in London, so that would make sense. Okay.
So, but they go into the origins of Halloween, like the legend of Samhain.
Interesting.
And then there's another one where you go into Yuletide season. But
so
I played them out of order.
You played Christmas first?
I played Christmas first. But some of the side missions as you're going through these, well, I guess they're not really side missions, but you actually go trick-or-treating in one of the missions, which was really funny because they talk about like where trick-or-treating came from.
So in true Assassin's Creed form, you're getting a history lesson while you play this game.
Yes, and they do a wonderful job with this.
Nice.
So I definitely had a lot of fun with kind of delving into that universe again. I don't necessarily want to play it again.
Right.
Because again, 90 hours is a hell of a time commitment.
Right.
But I have a lot of fond memories of this game already, and I can't wait for DLC to start popping up for this.
I was just going to ask you that. I know they did a lot of DLC with. Did you get the game, what do they call it? The pass, the season pass?
I haven't bought it yet, but I'm going to because I have a feeling with the way the game ended, there's going to be some large DLCs coming.
All right, cool. I'm intrigued to see what that means. I don't know when I'm going to finish it. I'm really tempted just to go talk to you about spoilers or is it worth it to watch it unravel as it happens?
Depends on how you feel. There's like I said, there's a lot to unpack.
Okay.
So if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it off air.
All right. Sounds good. Anything else you've been playing?
I finally broke down and really played some Tetris Effect. I gave it the good college try.
Now, did you play this with headphones?
Yes.
Okay. Please tell me you loved it.
I don't like it.
Oh my God.
But I don't like it for a very specific reason.
Okay.
There is too much going on the screen.
Oh, I love it. I mean, you can't watch it.
Well, you've seen how I play old arcade style games,
right?
I like to get very in the zone.
Uh-huh.
There is so much coming at you. Like the music is wonderful for this. Don't get me wrong, but those random speed ups.
Oh, don't those freak you out?
They freak you out, but the problem is, depending on the level that you're playing on, the random speed ups with things coming at you are very distracting for me. And I found times where I fell behind super, super quick and had to dig myself out of a hole.
Uh-huh.
But because you are also, like each of the levels is 36 lines.
Right.
So you're like, oh man, I'm in a deep hole. And you start to dig yourself out and it's like, oh, level's over. And then it clears the screen. And then it drops you right back in with everything from before.
Yep.
And then you hit another speed up. And I'm like,
Yeah, but it's so worth it because once you get through that, and then it does something a Tetris game, in my memory, hasn't done. If it has, I apologize. It slows back down. So most Tetris games just like slowly ramp up and up and up and get faster and faster. This one goes through stages where it jumps up and back down and then back up and back down. And when you come back down, it's this calming Zen-like state where like, okay, now I can gather my thoughts and actually do some damage here, which is so effective to me. And it just makes the game like this cathartic release that I absolutely love.
See, you like it for that reason. I liked the old school style progressive ramp.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're an arcade junkie.
Yes, I am.
But how awesome is the music, though?
The music is wonderful,
entrancing.
Yes, I will say that there's the ocean level, where it's that like slow chant, and like every time that you rotate, it has that like
Yep.
I love that.
It's so crazy how like every time you move a piece, it affects the music. And obviously, because you're not doing it in beat with the music, it's not going to always jive, but it still works. I don't know why, but it works.
Yeah, I also don't care for some of the Tetramino designs on some of the levels. Like, I did not like the gears.
I was just going to say, I love the gears one.
I hate that one.
It's like the whole clockwork noise in the background. If you're playing with good headphones, it just feels like immersed. Oh, I want to go play it right now when we're done.
Of course you do. So, I mean, like I said, I gave it the college try. I'm still playing it. So I'm hoping that over time it will grow on me more.
Yeah.
But where it currently sits with me, I would rather play other versions.
Of course you would. We got to try the connected aspect of it because there's apparently a multiplayer component somehow, and that's like the new thing with the Xbox version. So we need to check that out. But truth be told, I bought a new headset today that I told you, mostly to play with Tetris Effect, because I don't have a good headset for the Xbox Series X yet. And Chris Owens actually turned me on to one that was on sale at Best Buy for half off at $30. And he got it home and said it's awesome. So I went ahead and bought it. And mostly for this game.
Fair enough.
So that's how much I dig this game. Don't listen to CB. Play Tetris Effect. It's amazing.
It's still a very good game. I will recommend it to anybody, but it is in the not for me wheelhouse.
Oh man, you hurt my feelings so much. So much. New Facebook members want to say hello to, let's see, Cody Haley, who joined the Facebook group this week, which can be found at facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. You will not want to miss that community. Also, I mentioned Discord earlier. There is a link in the show notes to join that, where it's where we do our community game nights, where we set up gaming sessions with people. And new people over there include Green Palkia, Akimbo, B Grim, Tinfoil, and Shadow Walker. Also, if you get a free moment, do us a favor and head over and give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Those reviews help us get the word out about what we do. And also our website, thegamingoutsider.com, where you can find all of our podcast episodes as well as written reviews, including Thomas's review of Leisure Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Dry Twice, and Chris Owens' review of Cobra Kai, The Karate Kid Saga Continues. And now we'll jump into our From the Outside In topic. A lot of people, us included, have complained about the lack of fresh titles for this console generation launch. And it got me thinking about past console launches and their library of games that were offered. So before we get into some of our favorites or not so favorites, CB, how important do you think it is for a console to have brand new titles when the console releases? Is it important, or are we okay waiting for the best ones to come later?
I think overall the best ones do need to come later. But when a new console generation comes out, I feel that there needs to be that early small library of like gems to kind of draw you in.
Right.
Especially when you have like competing companies that are releasing within the same week of each other. You're going to have the people on the fence, and you need something to draw you to your side.
I get that, CB, but I'm going to disagree with you, because there's nothing on the Xbox Series X or the PS5 right now, and nobody can get one. So clearly they don't need to have games at launch. They just have to say, hey, we got this shiny new hardware. You want it? You know you want it. We've been talking about it. It makes the stuff that you already have run faster, and will make everything in the future run faster. We're going to release it right before Christmas. We know you want it, and you're going to buy it. And we did.
Yeah, but I think that's also saying something about our society these days. Like, we want the big, new, shiny, flashy.
Right. But if they can just sell hardware without having any games at launch, clearly they can get away with it. Now, what do I want? I want that one landmark title. Give me a system seller at launch. I'm getting ahead of myself. Nintendo Switch did not release a Mario title, but guess what? They had Breath of the Wild. That was a reason to buy that thing. Nobody bought it to play 1-2 Switch. They got 1-2 Switch to say, so they can say, hey, it feels cool to have marbles in your hand while you're rolling a controller. People bought that Switch just to play Zelda because it was the only place you could play it. No, you could play it on the Wii U, couldn't you?
Yes, you could.
So you could play it on the Wii U. So yeah, even then, it's not even an original launch title. So clearly they don't have to have the software in order to sell hardware, which is weird.
True, but I think with all the delays that happened this year, I'm willing to bet originally they had planned that there was going to be 1 or 2 games to come.
That's fair. But there were plenty of games to purchase for the Xbox Series X. It's just in terms of like exclusives or things that you could only play right here, they were lacking. So,
Yes.
Which is a bummer. I don't know. I'm just really of the mindset that you don't even have to have solid hardware at launch anymore. People buy the console because they know they're platform loyal. So you're an Xbox fan, you're going to buy an Xbox. You're a PlayStation fan, you're going to buy a PlayStation. You're going to be able to play the cross-gen platforms games on whichever one you pick. And then you'll get some exclusives as well. But as long as you stay in the same ecosystem, and I'm part of the conversation, which, hey, I'm guilty of that. I had to have an Xbox because I want to be a part of the conversation. I had to play with the PS5 so I could be part of the conversation. But
Yeah.
there's nothing that I have to play that I couldn't have played on the Xbox One or the PS4. Well, not my PS4 because it's busted.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of lucked out on that one there.
Yeah.
But I do feel that as time has gone on, we've moved farther and farther away from having all those like really stellar launch titles. Because before we started recording tonight, like you and I went back and looked at a lot of the older consoles.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the older systems, like, granted, there was a lot of shovelware with some of them,
Mm-hmm.
but a few of them had like pretty amazing launch titles.
Yeah, I was kind of perusing before we started recording, and I was shocked at how some launches had incredible titles. Some had 2 titles. I was shocked that I could not remember that one particular console only had 2 games at launch, which blew my mind. You want to just like get into it?
Yeah, let's dive.
So which ones stand out to you as either most memorable or most terrible?
Well, for me, one of the most memorable ones is still GameCube.
Okay.
Because that was the first system that I actually remember taking my own money, standing outside like super, super early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
because that was like before pre-orders were really a thing.
I don't know,
So
man. Pre-orders were a thing back in '98 when I was pre-ordering my copy of Ocarina of Time.
True, but I remember like it wasn't only pre-orders. Like you could show up and fight the masses.
Right. You were basically securing that you were going to get one and didn't have to worry about fighting the masses.
And see, I miss the good old fighting the masses.
Man, I remember standing in line for Halo 2 at GameStop. Remember that was a thing, like going and standing in line for games and just being a part of that ecosystem?
I remember still doing Black Friday.
Oh,
Like,
man, Black Friday.
Getting there at like 9:00 on like the previous night.
Oh, yeah, dude. I stood in line at Old Navy once to get a copy of like Lego Rock Band for free. Think about that for a minute.
That scares me a little. But I was looking at the GameCube one because I remember buying 4 the games.
Right?
And looking at this lineup, so on launch day, they had Crazy Taxi,
Mm-hmm.
Luigi's Mansion, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader,
Love that game.
Super Monkey Ball,
Mhm.
Tony Hawk 3, Wave Race Blue Storm, and then a bunch of sport titles. And I remember getting Crazy Taxi, Luigi's Mansion, Tony Hawk 3, and Star Wars Rogue Squadron.
But see, to me, none of those are like system sellers. Like to me, it's weird when Nintendo releases a new console and doesn't put a Mario title at launch.
Well, I mean, kind of. You had Luigi's Mansion.
That's not a Mario game. Come on.
It's in the same universe.
Yeah, it's in the same ballpark.
They tried something new. They tried something new with this one, and I still had fun. I still love my lunchbox, man.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I had a lot of fun with the GameCube. There were a lot of fun games. It's crazy how those graphics do not hold up today anymore. I was really shocked by that. But yeah, it's not a terrible launch. I don't know if I would say it is the best.
It's definitely not the best, but it was still for a small package. It was still impressive for what they had.
Let's talk about a not so impressive launch window of games on the Nintendo 64. I did not remember this, but until I looked it up. But holy cow, they only had Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wing 64 at launch. 2 games.
Yeah. But 2 really impressive games.
Yes. And to me, that shows the quality of those games alone, that those 2 games were able to sell those consoles at the time, because anybody that played Mario 64 on the kiosk at Kmart or wherever you played it were like, I have to play this game. I have to own this console. That's what I miss, is having a hardcore, intense reason to purchase a new piece of hardware other than I got to have the new shiny thing. Or I got to sell it for a higher price on the market, which is what it's come down to nowadays.
And it really is sad that is so true. But here's the thing that really blows my mind, and where we talk about like you need those like one or two like stellar title standouts. When you look a little farther forward from that, and you look at Dreamcast. A system that was almost kind of like, the end of Sega's console releases.
Well, hey, hold that thought. I actually have a comment from a listener that had something to say about the Dreamcast too.
Sure.
TJ Kitsune says, for me, definitely the Dreamcast launch game. Over 20 games at launch with a little from every genre. I picked up Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure, and Virtua Fighter 3. Though the bad thing was the poorly pressed launch copies of Sonic Adventure that plagued the launch that sucked. Glad I avoided the other Midway games that all had bad first pressings and would be recalled to eventually lead to the release of the hot new stamped Midway games that fixed the bugs. I did not know that was a thing. Do you have both versions?
Yes.
Look at you. Of course you do.
Well, the only reason I have some of them is because they have degraded so badly that people, you can't even sell them because they're just completely non-functional.
Oh wow, that's a bummer.
I used to have quite a few GameCube games that did the same thing, where the top layer just kind of bubbled and popped off.
Oh,
so they don't even work. But the Dreamcast, though, you look at that system, Sega's last like full console release. 20 games at launch. A lot of these are pretty stellar titles. I mean, House of the Dead 2, Hydro Thunder, Mortal Kombat Gold, all the 2K games, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur.
Isn't NFL 2K considered like one of the best NFL football games, like even better than some Maddens?
Yeah, it is. And that system died out a few years later.
Well, that was poor release time, and when the PS2 came out, that's just what everybody wanted.
Yeah, I mean that is true, but with it was a powerful console. It had online functionality. It should have been able to hang in there.
It had a backwards cord on the controller.
Yeah, that controller is still definitely not one of my favorites.
It was awful. But yeah, I still think it's hard to say which one would be the most impressive. And I think we're going to have to come up with a definitive answer. We're going to have to collectively have a definitive answer of which console has the best release. We got to decide one between you and me. I mean, just you and me, not everybody's opinion, but
we definitely will. You were talking about Breath of the Wild earlier. And I just want to interject with a quick listener comment on that one. Ethan Lankford, the only console, he says, the only console I ever owned near the initial launch was the Switch. I bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Breath of the Wild as my 2 must-have launch games. I didn't think Mario Kart 8 was. I
didn't think it was either.
But I knew it was close to launch.
Right.
Knowing that they were first party was the reason I considered it to be as safe as early adopter. But just as much as it was about the games, the console was also something I believed in. A release doesn't have to have a lot of games. I just need to know that the company wants to put the time and effort into both their games and the product before I buy it. I really stand behind this statement.
It's a big leap of faith.
it is a big leap of faith, especially for something that's new.
Mm-hmm.
Other than like the Joy-Con issues, I don't really think the Switch had any major issues at launch.
I mean, that's a pretty major issue.
Well, but those the Joy-Con issues really only showed up later on.
Right.
I mean, you remember with the Switch launch, like everybody was talking about their Switch warping.
Mm-hmm.
I have an original Switch. I've never had that problem with it. So I can't really attest to that fact. But the Switch to me, for the small amount of games that it launched with, is still one of the more impressive ones for Nintendo, especially coming off of the Wii U.
Well, what'd they have? We mentioned 1-2 Switch already. Legend of Zelda, and then Bomberman, Skylanders, and Just Dance 2017.
Yeah, so I mean, not a super powerful lineup.
No, but they have a banger in there. I mean, but it's almost not fair to call Zelda a banger because you could play it on the Wii U. The difference was nobody had a Wii U, and everybody has, like nowadays, has an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4.
Yes. And as much as you say 1-2 Switch wasn't a seller, when I finally got around to playing that thing,
it was fun.
It is really innovative.
We played that. Do you remember playing that up at Stoy's?
Yes, I do.
When he had his like projector on this giant wall outside, like we were standing around a fire playing, what's that quick draw game? Man, that was fun.
All those were fun.
We had way more fun with that than we expected to have with 1-2 Switch. But I also feel like looking at 1-2 Switch, you want to talk about tech demo, that's what that game is. It's literally a tech demo that they charge $60 for. So,
and here's the funny flip side to that, because I said that this was coming off of their Wii U debacle.
Right.
Did you ever look at the Wii U's launch list?
No.
It is one of the largest launch lists I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness, I'm looking at it now. That's insane. I mean, there's a lot of sports titles on here, but New Super Mario Bros. U, Nintendo Land, which, by the way, Nintendo Land, you want to talk about a fun party game. That was a fun party game.
That is almost a quarter of the entire Wii U library on launch.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. But again, there's a bunch of shovelware on here. A lot of shovelware. Zombie U is a game I still have never played. I've heard good things. Wipeout 3, Rabbids, Scribblenauts, Mass Effect 3, and Assassin's Creed 3 were there, but those were ports. Not a lot of system sellers.
Yeah, I mean, right out the gate, I mean, though, like, I actually don't even really see anything that was specific to the Wii other than like Tank,
Mm-hmm.
and Zombie U, because that Zombie U first came out on that system.
Yeah, it required the use of the tablet. That was like the big selling point. But again, here's another Nintendo console. No, I guess Super Mario Bros. U was on there. Wasn't my favorite.
New Super Mario Bros. U.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite Mario game. It wasn't a bad game. It just, I don't know, it just felt basic to me.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best thing ever.
Right.
So, I guess it's really just about what the market really kind of wants at that time.
Yeah, but did people want, I don't know, Disney Epic Mickey 2, The Power of 2 at launch? Did they want Ben 10 Omniverse? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I don't think that there was... For me, the problem with the Wii U has always been it was a console that I don't think they put enough innovation into.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they would have just waited a little bit longer and put all that resource into the Switch,
right?
Can you imagine what they would have been able to do then?
Yeah. But I mean, they're still, they made up for it with the Switch.
Yes.
Let's stray a little away from Nintendo because I want to talk about the Xbox 360, which I know the launch wasn't super impressive. We talked about this a little bit off air, but there was one game on the 360 that was an absolute joy for me to play, and that was Gun. Gun to this day is still one of my favorite Westerns I've ever played. But the thing is about Gun is that game did not sell me on the 360. The 360 sold me on Gun. So,
Okay.
like, I didn't play Gun until after I got my 360. I was like, where has this game been all my life? The ones to buy, the ones to buy for that system were always like Peter Jackson's King Kong, which wasn't a great game. It looked amazing at the time. Perfect Dark Zero, which I could just never get into for some reason. Cameo, or is it Cameo? Elements of Power. Another one I just could not get into. Condemned Criminal Origins. But I just keep coming back to Gun, which isn't fair to say because it was also on PlayStation. So that's not like an exclusive game to that platform.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about the 360 one, the 360 launch window was when you look at this list, it's all sport titles.
Yeah. Well, again, sports titles do sell, man. I know we don't play them. Like, the three of us don't really play them outside of some Blitz or some Rocket League now and then. But those games sell. They really do.
But looking at this list of these games, so this was like the first real foray into achievements.
You're right, yeah.
And looking at this list of sport titles, these were all like 6 achievement games where it was just like 200 points per achievement.
Oh yeah, and I remember you could like go and like just sim your way through to get all 1,000 in like an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I remember that about that generation. I was actually a late adopter to the 360. I didn't get into the 360 until almost a year in.
I think it wasn't at launch for me, but I was definitely eBaying one pretty quickly.
So I remember having a PS3 before I had a 360.
What I was surprised by was the original PlayStation, the lack of high-quality titles at launch on that. The only real one that stood out to me was Air Combat, which eventually became Ace Combat. I love that game. I don't remember it being a system seller. I remember being more impressed by Battle Arena Toshinden, NBA Jam, which we had played on the previous console generation. Ridge Racer was pretty impressive at the time, I would say. But
Street Fighter the movie, the game.
Yeah, the game based on the movie based on the game.
Yes. But here's the thing that PlayStation had going for it. At the time, they had a lot of hype behind them because of the whole E3 debacle with them and Nintendo.
Okay.
Because remember, they were originally supposed to make the CD attachment for Nintendo.
Yeah, the Nintendo PlayStation.
And that all fell through. And they wound up like, you know what, screw it, we're going to make our own. So that was their first jump into the console market. So it was something, back then it was either you had Nintendo or you had Sega. And now there's this brand new kid on the block. I think that's what the original Xbox had going for it.
Right. Well, the original Xbox had Halo, right?
Yes.
Bloodwake, if I remember correctly, was original.
Yes. There was, and I don't, other than that, like, I don't really remember much, but looking at the list now, like, you also had Cell Damage.
This is original Xbox?
This is original Xbox. Cell Damage, Fusion Frenzy.
I remember that one.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 X. So it was like the slight offshoot that had some different stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
But and then Oddworld Munch's Odyssey.
Oh, I didn't remember that was an original Xbox game. That was cross-platform though, wasn't
it? I believe it was cross-platform. So don't quote me. I haven't looked that up. But then again, all the rest is all sports and racing titles.
Or, movie tie-ins.
Or Dead or Alive 3.
That's a funny game I was never able to get into, but that's just a personal preference. So
that is true.
I feel like we should start wrapping up and like deciding on a console that has the best launch. And I'm going to start by making a nomination. And it's going to be a bold nomination, but I want you to hear me out.
Okay.
I'm going to say the Nintendo 64 simply because even though it only had 2 titles, it had 2 great titles. So they had a 100% hit rate at launch. It's kind of hard to argue with 100%. Your response?
My response, see, I have a problem with this because I'm going to go with something I don't remember.
Okay.
The original Nintendo.
Oh, the original Nintendo, those games weren't good.
Lies.
Oh, come
All
on, man.
Lies.
Let's see. 10-yard fight. Not a great football game. Baseball. So-so.
Excite Bike.
Okay, Excite Bike's 1.
Golf was actually really good.
All right.
Hogan's Alley. Ice Climber. Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, Kung Fu I liked.
Wild Gunman. Wrecking Crew. Both really solid Nintendo games.
Wrecking Crew, really?
But the reason I'm going to go with this is because they were coming off of the video game crash. I mean, if
you're taking history into account,
a little bit,
okay,
but at the same time, a lot of these we do look back at with some foray of history. Looking at this one though, remember they're coming off the video game crash, and if you ever listeners out there, if you ever really want to see a really awesome documentary, just I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Video Games the movie.
Video Games the movie is really good. But there's a lot of YouTube mini documentaries where they go into all the hoops that they had to jump through to get this thing to launch. And it sold like we think that it's hard to get a PS5 or an Xbox now.
Right.
Looking back then, it was 2 years to get your hands on one. And it still sold like gangbusters. So I still think that it is still one of the greatest video game console launches of all time.
I never wanted to play any of the, well, maybe Super Mario Brothers. I'll give you, at the launch of this console, I never wanted to play games more than I wanted to play Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wing 64.
But at the same time, we're also looking at it through jaded eyes because you and I are both aren't old enough to remember it.
That's true. I would have been 5.
So, I mean, that I would say overall, I believe that is for me, man, as far as what I remember being alive for launch, I kind of glossed over the N64. Because for me, it was Sega Genesis.
Oh, see, I wasn't a Genesis guy, so I'm not going to vote for Genesis by default.
I know. So I have a harder time fighting for this one. But I remember vaguely being a kid. I
mean, Altered Beast, Ghouls and Ghosts, Alex Kidd, Space Harrier 2, Tommy Lasorda Baseball.
I know, but for me, it's almost purely nostalgia. Because I remember seeing the commercials for this Altered Beast, all the bright, shiny.
Why from your grave?
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
So basically, we're going to be at an impasse here. I'm going to say 64. Yes. You're going to say NES, and we totally sound like Nintendo fanboys because we're both going to go with a Nintendo console. But
which is funny because we're both Xbox guys.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. Hey, so, I had a vote for Gun, but also Gun was cross-platform, so it shouldn't really count. But
yeah,
overall, but also look at both of ours. 100% of the games on my launch window were exclusive to that platform. 100 of the games on your platform were exclusive to that platform.
So true, but I think we can come to an agreement on one.
Okay.
The Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay, we're going back to another Nintendo console. We're just going to be labeling this.
I know. And I feel bad for this, but you look at Nintendo, Super Nintendo's launch titles.
Mm-hmm. Again, small list.
You had small list, but you had 5 bangers.
All right.
Super Mario World.
Great game.
F-Zero.
Great racer.
SimCity.
One of the best versions of that game. Sorry, PC players.
Yeah. Pilot Wings.
I love that game so much. Those Mode 7 graphics.
And Gradius 3.
I don't remember that one. Is that a good
You're not a shmup guy. Okay. I'm a shmup guy. I love this game. I still play this game.
So we've got 5, again, 100%, right?
Yeah.
All really good games. So is that our clear winner?
I think we have to stick it on the Super Nintendo.
All right. We're compromising. We're meeting in the middle with another Nintendo console.
And what's even funnier is we actually had a better launch than Japan did for that, because all they got was Super Mario World and F-Zero.
Well, didn't they? Oh, Japan. That's weird. In Europe, they got soccer, tennis, and Super R-Type, but
yeah. But this was also before worldwide release dates.
True.
So we got it almost a year after Japan, and Europe almost got it a year after we did.
That's so weird.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, so according to Scott and CB at the Gaming Outsider, the console with the best launch of games at the release of the console is the Super Nintendo, and it's kind of hard for me to argue against that.
Yeah. Do you have any other listener comments you want to kick in?
I do. I've got one more, and I'm going to pull that up for you right now from Sean Coates. He says, the only console I got near a launch was the N64, if you remember my Christmas story I told last year. And the 2 games I got were Mario 64 and Shadows of the Empire, 2 of my absolute favorite games on the system. Personally, I consider all games released that holiday season to be launch titles. Interesting to throw that in there. These include Wave Race 64, Cruisin' USA, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and Killer Instinct Gold, as well as Wayne Gretzky Hockey, all of which are classics in their own way. I was actually surprised that Wave Race was not a launch. In my mind, that was a launch title.
Yeah, I see. I have that memory too, that it was a launch title, but I guess it's just so far removed from my memory and the fact that it was all in that same window.
Mm-hmm. And Cruisin' USA I felt like was later, because wasn't that the one when they were going to start like calling it the Ultra 64 or something like that, and they had a little expansion pack thing?
Well, remember there was Cruisin' USA, there was Cruisin' World.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. It was a sequel.
Yeah, there was a couple different ones.
Cruisin' USA was so much fun.
It was, but I would still rather play that arcade. I also have one more listener comment that I want to bring up.
All right.
CJ Moore says, my dad was way excited for Halo Combat Evolved. He bought an Xbox and 4 controllers to play with his kids.
Wow.
This event opened up a whole world of gaming to me, regardless of the fact that my dad quickly became disoriented and motion sick and quit the game forever.
Wow.
As for me and my brothers, we passed many wonderful summer hours playing campaigns and multiplayer competitions, a tradition which brings today with rehashing old classics like Super Smash Bros. And Soul Calibur. And with the wonderful invention of the interwebs, thanks Al Gore, it is increasingly more convenient to play together. While I'm not sure what it will look like, I'm excited to see the evolution of multiplayer gaming with this next generation. The only reason I kind of wanted to save this for last is the big thing is with new console generations, being a dad, it makes me happy that gaming is still growing and moving forward with new consoles and new generations to kind of bring our hobby to that next generation, not just technologically, but also for kids and families.
Yeah, I like it.
So
I remember playing the original PlayStation, playing Driver with my stepdad, who's now living with me. He probably doesn't even remember, but yeah, good memories.
Yeah, I mean, I still have amazing memories of playing like Galaga and Dr. Mario with my dad every Saturday morning on my original Nintendo.
Nice. GoldenEye. I played GoldenEye like crazy with my stepdad when I was a kid. Me, my brother, him, and my neighbor Roy, who is a listener of the show. Hi, Roy. Used to play that a lot. That was a fun topic, CB. We got a lot of legs out of that, and I'm glad we landed on one. I was worried that we were going to have to just have a split decision on 64 or Nintendo, but I'm glad we landed on the Super Nintendo because you're right. 5 bangers right there. Next week's topic, I believe, is are we up for community questions next week, or do we got one more week?
I think we got one more week.
One more week. So we have not decided next week's topic yet, so stay tuned for that. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. CB, any parting words before we head out for the week?
Since he's not here to say it, the Mandalorian is still wonderful. Thank you, Zach. But I know you and I both have a love for sea shanties, thanks to Black Flag. I actually discovered a new band thanks to the wonders of TikTok.
Oh, what band is that?
The Darina Harvey Band.
Darina Harvey Band. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm writing it down right now.
They have a Celtic rock band, and they have a song called The Last Shanty.
All right.
Which has a very heavy modern shanty vibe to it. But,
all right. I'm sold. I used to listen to those shanties in Black Flag like crazy.
Oh, I still do. I mean, it's not the same as those, but it's definitely got that same drive to it where it's yep, I can get behind this. So
very cool, man. Well, CB, thanks for being here. I know it was just the two of us, but I think we did pretty well. Yeah. I still want Zach back, but we had a good time. And all of you, thanks for sticking around and listening. Just want to remind you that The Gaming Outsider is produced by Nate Lucas. This week, however, we have a special guest producer, Christina Flores, sitting in for Nate, producing the show. Nate's still editing it, but she's here taking notes for us.
She's waving to all you out there in listener land.
And all the music you hear in the episode is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. Be sure to check out his website, stemagemusic.com. That's STEMAGE music.com. Also, please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.